And you are watching another Blewett Blitz film review. He has that ability to, trust me, he definitely does. Just his ability to catch balls outside of his frame, his leaping ability, his ability to hang in the air, his yak ability, it's all there. Lowers his helmet, low man wins, bang, rocks a guy.
Hall running free, Brees Hall inside the 10, he's gonna score!
The corners all do their job. You know, if you look at the picture right here, lock.
3rd and 1. Stevens always drilled. What a great defensive play.
I don't try to Monday morning quarterback any of the reviews I do, and I'll try to be honest with a lot of the things I put up. And you are watching / listening to another edition of Blewett Blitz, another solo edition, as I do every other week. We'll see how long this is because there's legitimately nothing going on. Actually, there's a few things we could talk about today, and some of you guys in the chat have already brought it up, so I appreciate it. But I'm happy to be talking to you guys regardless, no matter how long it is. Next week, we also have a stats prediction with Kyle and myself, and I think the week after that with Kyle and I, it's a 25-minute or the top 25 on the roster, which we've done for forever now. But I'm happy. I'm happy to be here. Today was one of the busiest days of work I've ever had. So to be home now and talking football is quite the change of pace and quite nice. Obviously, both Florida teams lost their respective finals 4-1, which is really, really nice because I'm rooting against Florida. Not because of anything other than there's a bunch of Dolphins fans there, and I don't want Dolphins fans to be happy. So, but with that being said, I want to say hello to some people in the chat who are here. Eagle Fang, Dalvin Cook, what's going on with him? Actually, one thing I want to talk about too, just a little bit of housekeeping for the film reviews. I believe since last week I've released. Maybe I'm giving too many names here, but Lazard, Warren, Clark, Hardman, Barnes. Izzy's already recorded. Rogers is already recorded. Q is already recorded. And I still have to do Amos, Al Woods, Cobb, Turner, Kuntz, Converse, Jefferson, so many guys. So I appreciate the people who have been supporting them on the website. And I'll keep them pumping out. I think I got like 17 or 18 more to do. But Dalvin Cook, I talked about this last week, Eagle. I guess you weren't here, but it is what it is. In terms of his numbers, one, you look at Dalvin Cook and people are kind of talking about him in that $4 to $5 million range for him, which is fine. Like, and I said last week to Kyle, if that was the range of money he wanted, then I'd be okay with it. But you see some reports leaking out, and obviously trust who you want to trust. But it seems like he wants more of the, closer to what he had with the Vikings, which is about $10 million, but even $8-9 million for a running back, it's a lot of money, and especially not for a guy who's studded anymore. It's not. I think people are infatuated with a name more than what he actually has been producing the last couple of years. And I read off the stats last week of his numbers, which are obviously only numbers, and you guys know if anybody, it's me who's going to be like shitting on the numbers, but there's a lot stacked against him. So shout out to Rivka who wrote the article. I'll read the numbers again. But this is out of 43 backs with at least 100% attempts last season. So out of 43 backs with at least 100 attempts with at least 100 attempts last season, expected average per rush -0.14, 39th out of 43, meaning bad. Number one is the best. So 39 out of 43. Rush over expectation -0.75, 41st out of 43. DVOA -10.8, tied for 35th. DYAR, no idea what it means, but -24, 36th. Rush success rate, tied for 30th in the league. His yard after contact was 12th, so that's relatively high. Elusiveness was relatively high at 16th out of 43. His yards per route run were tied for 25th. His drop rate was 34th, and then his PFF pass block grade was 25th out of 43. So you're talking about a back who is in a lot of numbers at below average to even quite bad at. So are we paying $8-9 million for him? Is anybody? No. And it's not like a conspiracy by the NFL to not pay this guy. It's just that he hasn't been very good in a few years. He's been solid. But you look at the Minnesota Vikings offensive line, and I think they were one of the top run blocking win rate offensive lines in the league. So he took advantage of what was given to him. But past that, he didn't really do much. So Why are we going to pay him $8-9 million? Like you talk about some people in free agency. I think shout out to Boy Green, I believe, put it out, that the Jets were like second for betting odds for Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs was a stud last year. Now you have to trade for him, and I don't know what the contract is. I would rather have in a vacuum him. They talk about price, but I'd rather have him. Or why not Kareem Hunt? Like what did Kareem Hunt do? Now I don't know if he's a JD guy and all that. He hasn't really had any incidences in the last few years that I know of. But he was still really, really good the last couple of years. He's not going to cost you much. He's still on the market, and he's not demanding $8-9 million, whatever it is. So I rather have Kareem Hunt for $3-4 million than Cook for even 6 or 7. So there's a reason he's not signed. It's because he's name and he's over product, and we want the actual good product, not just Dalvin Cook used to be good. We don't want that. So has he taken or past the physical makes me wonder. Again, I think it's for the reason that these teams are actually watching what he did last year and like, I don't know, he's not so impressive. So I'm kind of out on the Cook stuff. And I listen, like at the end of the day, I would understand bringing in a running back because they're not sure about Brees. Michael Carter's a question. Zonovan Knight was good for 2 or 3 weeks, and then the weeks after that, he did absolutely nothing. And I know a big part of that is part of the offensive line. And then you have Izzy, who is a 5th-round pick, who struggles with his vision and is relatively inconsistent. So I understand bringing in a running back, but like Happy Tanking here says, which I agree with you, Happy Tanking. It's not that I don't want a running back, but I prefer a true free safety, just like Tanking. I prefer a linebacker. I prefer a backup quarterback. I would prefer a wide receiver 2. I wouldn't say 1 because that's Garrett Wilson, but I'd prefer all those things over getting a running back. And the thing that I've been saying, I've been saying the whole Clark, which by the way, just terrible news because obviously Clark is injured, and that was the one guy I literally just put out a film review, and I said specifically, this is the best move in terms of value that the Jets did the entire offseason. Like just based on the value they dumped into him in terms of a 7th-round pick and $4 million. It was the best move of the offseason to me. I had him pretty high in my top 25, which I'll reveal, in a couple of weeks and show where I had him. Obviously, he's not really like on the team now, so he won't be on the list. But an absolute stud, who they got for a steal of a price. One of the guys I actually legitimately like, and people are usually, you're too negative. So, of course, the guy I actually really, really like, he gets injured, not even on the practice field of the Jets, probably training by his own. Seems like a knee injury. The second tests haven't come out yet. Maybe he could rebound for the playoffs or something like that, but I don't know. But it's unfortunate. So they bring in his name is not Amos, by the way. You heard him say it's Amos. I hate that his name is, you pronounce it Amos. I'd rather it be Amos, but I'll try to call him Amos because I've been calling him Amos for 10 years or 8 years. 2015. Yeah, so 8 years. And I'm still relatively early in the film review for that. But regardless, if they're kind of signing him to be a backup like free safety or free safety / linebacker, in my eyes, the Jets are still at this moment looking at Tony Adams as a starting free safety, Jordan Whitehead as a strong safety, with Amos as the like pseudo linebacker, strong safety type of role, just like Clark was going to play. But bringing a guy like Quan kind of is like multifaceted in terms of like what it provides your team, because not only does it provide you a backup linebacker, because even if your idea is to go later in the box and it's Amos who's in the box more, they're going to go lighter packages and expect, to lose a little bit of weight in the box, but they're going to have guys who are more athletic to match tight ends and stuff like that when they're going to be up in games and having to pass or having to face more passing concepts. Okay, cool. But what if Mosley goes down? Like I know a lot of teams, if they lose their number one linebacker, they're going to be screwed. But if Mosley goes down, is Sherwood ready? Is Hamza ready? Maybe, but probably not. Is Barnes ready? No. What if Quincy goes down? Can Sherwood fill that role? I get people are saying, oh, well, they got to develop people at a certain point. Sure. But in a Super Bowl, in not like a true Super Bowl or bust year, but kind of a Super Bowl or bust year, do you want to just hope Sherwood learned, or would you rather sign a Quan who provided plenty of value to the Jets last year for $2.5 million? So he's your backup linebacker. And then also with that being said, let's say that, again, Amos is playing in the box, but oh shit, Tony Adams, we really liked what he did last year, but he's clearly not ready for the role. He's been getting beat a lot. We don't have a free safety, or we have a free safety in Amos, but shit, he's playing in the box. Well, guess what? You sign Quan. Quan fills in for Amos. Amos moves to free safety. So it backs up 2 spots for the Jets. So I really think signing Quan is still important. I would still kick the tires on John Johnson. I would still kick the tires on, trading for freaking Kevin Byard. I don't think it's going to happen, especially the fact that the Tennessee, like some of these teams, man, I just you like it's frustrating to. At least the Jets have they've gone half in sometimes, but like the Raiders, they're signing Marcus Peters, or they're going to try to sign Marcus Peters. Why? The Titans are trying to sign DeAndre Hopkins. Why? Like for what reason? To win instead of 7 games or win 8 games and be in purgatory? Like I don't get it. So I don't think they're going to trade Byard, but nonetheless, I would prefer a free safety, a receiver to a backup quarterback, a linebacker all over Dalvin Cook. I'm just not really about it. Shut the fuck up from Anthony G. What's up, Anthony? Swolsey says if the Titans are sniffing around Hopkins, I'd imagine Byard will. Yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah, that's good. Good mind, Swolsey. It just wouldn't make sense for them. Like, are they going? I guess they're going in for it all. With offensive line has downgraded in recent years. Who on defense? Like again, it's really, it'd be really stupid. If I was a Titans fan, they got Hopkins, I'd be pretty frustrated. Like, why are we wasting money on this guy again to win one more game? Okay, sure. And the guy says he wants to play with an elite quarterback and a really great defense. He's going to go to the Titans. Okay. The Pats? Mac Jones is an elite quarterback? Are you sure? Okay. Have fun with Bill Belichick. Hopkins doesn't seem like the guy who's going to really get along with him. So, hey, Joe, can't we try to use Bryce Hall as Nazaline in place of Clark? No. Well, no. Bryce Hall is definitely not – he's not a safety. Just because you play in the secondary doesn't mean you could play safety. Safety is completely different from corner. Different positions. It's like saying, oh, we could play corner. Why can't you play linebacker? They're 2 different things to me. So Bryce Hall is not going to play safety, and even less so Clark's role, because Clark was a pseudo linebacker strong safety. If anything, if you're trying to transition Bryce Hall, it would be more free safety than strong safety. So that's not going to happen. And Nazaline has played how many legitimate reps since he's been drafted? Like he's seen sparing reps, obviously a lot on special teams, but I can't even think of examples of him actually being on the field for, defensive snaps. So we could try to use Nazaline, but I don't think if I had to bet Nazaline doesn't make the team, I don't think either one of these guys make the team, to be completely honest. And I like Bryce Hall, and he probably should make the team, but they just got Guidry. Obviously you have your top 3. You have Hardy who's going to make the team. You have Eccles who's going to make the team. So if Guidry doesn't make it, sure, Bryce Hall can. But the thing about that is Guidry costs pennies, where Bryce Hall costs, don't quote me on this, but around $1.5 million, $2 million, whatever it's going to be. So get rid of him and save $1 million. I get having good depth, but I'd probably trade Hall for a pick at this point. And Nazaline, obviously, again, you have your top couple of guys. You have Mosley, you have Quincy, you have Sherwood, you have Barnes. Does Nazaline even make the team? And Amos as a pseudo linebacker, like I would bet on both those guys not even making the team before I bet on them making the team. So would they be used in place of Clark? No. Happy Tank can hit the like button. Yeah, I appreciate that, Happy Tank. I know not a lot's going on right now. What, June 15th? I'm not with anybody. I don't take questions. I don't take callers, so I get it could be a little bit stale. But I'll talk to you guys for however long you guys want to talk. If you guys are going to send chats and stuff, we'll be here for 45 minutes. If not, then we'll be here for 2 hours. It's kind of on you guys to be in here. And again, I have plenty of stuff to do too. So if it does end a little bit early, it's just an extra hour of Amos film before I go back to work in the morning. But I want to get that review out, within the next week or so. Expedite that one a little bit. And we have, again, I think 16 more total. A lot of reviews. Bryce is weak as fuck. I wouldn't trust him to hold up. No, it's your eyes are completely different. He has to hold up in the box. He has to take on lead blockers. He has to diagnose the run game a lot quicker. It would not work. He's not a physical player. And even with that too, like he doesn't have great range. He wouldn't have great range. If you weren't willing to trade a 7th to get him at $10 million, why would anyone pay that as a free agent? In terms of Cook, yeah, it seems like he's looking for that $8 to $10 million range or $8-9 million range. I'm not paying him anything over like 4, maybe 5. If it was 5, I'd be like, okay, like I get it, but I wouldn't even be thrilled at 5. If you get him at 4, okay, cool. Like based on what I've seen of him and what the numbers dictate, you're paying for much more of the name than the actual player at this point. So I don't think it's a good idea. Cooks drops and fumbles seal the deal for me being out on a year like this. Yeah, it's just you don't have a guy who's overly reliable in the pass game. You have a guy who fumbles. You have a guy who has a lot of miles on his tires. I don't see it. I don't see Cook coming here. See, I don't trust Brees Hall's health, especially early in the season, and that's I think why the Jets are looking at and poking around some running backs. But to me, give me Hunt. Like, and obviously I have to look into the numbers, I have to look into the film and all that stuff. But you're telling me right now, like based on the price expected, give me Hunt all day over Cook. I don't, you know, so I don't really get it. I'm hoping for MC to rebound and give Bam and Izzy some reps. At least we have a running back who can convert third and long if needed. Are you talking about a quarterback? A quarterback. Yeah, yeah. No, it's been very fun watching Aaron Rodgers and breaking him down. Sherwood Hamza. They definitely prefer Sherwood over Hamza. It seems like. Now to me, at least coming out of college, I like Hamza just because I feel like he had a higher ceiling. And Sherwood is I like his length. I like his wingspan. I like his tackle radius. I like how secure of a tackler he is. Seems to be a guy who would diagnose pretty well, but I think his athletic ceiling is pretty limited. So I don't know if you ever really want Sherwood as a full-time starter. I get in the box, he made a few nice plays when he was in last year, but I think if you extrapolate or if you take that and you kind of expand his role to a full-time coverage role and having to play in the box and stuff, I just think you're going to see some chinks in the armor in terms of him getting exposed in coverage, just because not because of bad eyes or lack of or anything like that, but more so because of a lack of athleticism. He could hold up, he could prove me wrong, 100%. There are guys who are plotters at linebacker who have been really really good in the NFL, and obviously it's changed. But David Harris is an example of a guy who is really limited athletically and was a stud. So it's possible, but I don't know. It's kind of a hard projection for me to say, okay, Sherwood's going to be a long-time starter, but we'll see. Ulbrich is looking for a guy to play the Keanu Neal role from his Falcons days. That's what Clark and now Amos is. Yeah. If you watch that review of Clark, which nobody's going to go back and watch that now, but I gush about him for about an hour. And I would say of that hour, probably 40 minutes of the review is him specifically in the box, and at least 20 plays were him like legitimately in the linebacker role, not just like, oh, a safety dropping to the box, like he played linebacker. Now Amos, gonna bother the hell out of me. I keep saying Amos. To me, I don't think he's as physical as Clark. I don't think he's as smart as Clark. I don't think he's as technically sound as Clark. So to me, Clark is the better player. With that in mind, I've only watched 3 or 4 games of Amos, and I still have to watch plenty more. But even so, what I'm doing with Amos is because the last couple of years he's kind of dropped off, and this year he had a really bad number. So I got help from Nanya, but I got some games from 2020, his really studly season, and then I got some games from 2022, and I'm going to watch and see if he fell off, or it was just kind of, was he a victim of circumstance in 2022? Was he the benefit of circumstance in 2020? So I'm kind of looking. He doesn't look all that different to me from 2020 to 2022. It just, he got exposed a little bit more. I don't think he was so great in 2020. I think he's a decent player, but I don't know. I don't think he's going to be able to fill the role as well as Clark did. I really, really, really like Clark. It's really unfortunate. He's only on a 1-year deal. I would love to see him back. He's a really good player. Let's see. Perfect. Anthony G. With a super chat, $10. I appreciate it. Thanks for working. Thanks for all the work cranking out the videos. You're the best and a great group of content creators when it comes to those breakdowns, and number one reason why I'm subbed to X-Factor. I appreciate that a lot, Anthony. It takes a lot of work, sometimes you do. And listen, like, I completely get it. And maybe one day in the future, I'll have somebody who can edit my videos and stuff and make it like a nice 5-6 minute videos, highlight the strengths, highlight the weaknesses, continuous film, just rolling right through as I talk about it and stuff. I get the appeal of that. I get you. It's kind of really quick to diagnose and say, okay, here are the strengths, here are the weaknesses and stuff. But one, I don't have the time to do that, and it would really limit my film and my work. And two, like, those are good, but you really need to watch 20, 30 plays to get a player down. So while I understand the appeal of those videos and those get all the views and all that stuff, and people don't want to see me clicking through one play by one play and talking about the same play for 3 minutes. It's just how I do it. And for the people who appreciate it, I really, really, really appreciate those people, because again, I get it's not sexy. That's how you really, really learn about the players. The 6-7 minute things, a lot of them are just like hype pieces. this strength, this strength, this strength, this strength, this strength. Oh, one weakness. It's like, yeah, one weakness. Are you sure he has one weakness? So for my videos, again, I get they can be kind of dry, but you get lists of strengths and weaknesses at the minimum in the article. And again, if you really, really, really want to learn about the player, hopefully you watch him. So I really appreciate that, Anthony. It means a lot. Again, I know it doesn't get a ton of love all the time, but with that being said, for the people who appreciate it, I think they really appreciate it. So I definitely appreciate you appreciating it. So thank you a lot, Anthony. It means a lot. I find it pretty telling that the market is so thin for Hopkins. Yeah, it just depends on like what he's asking for, right? Like, so it seemed at first he said, okay, I want to, and like ideally to him, he gets a stud quarterback, a stud defense, and a team that would pay him a lot of money. The problem with that is it seems like teams don't want to pay him a lot of money. So he's money hungry right now, and that's why he's going to visit with teams like the Titans, with teams like the Pats, who I'm sure he doesn't even really want to play for. Like, you have the video of people talking about like the Jets, like he kind of spurned the Jets when that video came out of him, not like the facial expressions things about teams he want to go play for. He did the same shit with the Pats, and the Pats haven't changed. The Pats have Mac Jones, and he made a face like, I don't want to play there. The Jets got Aaron Rodgers from that point of the video. So he's money chasing right now. So maybe if the Jets got close to one of their offers, like let's say that the Titans are offering $15 million, if the Jets offered $13 million, would he take it for that $2 million chance, difference to win it, to go for a Super Bowl? Maybe. The thing that's also has to be considered, and it is such bullshit. It really, really is such bullshit that taxes get affected. Like, if you play in Jersey 8-9 times a year, your game checks are going to be taxed in Jersey taxes. So teams have to, or players like have to take that into account. Like, hey, this $20 million with the Jets might really mean $13 million by the time all the taxes are out, where with the Titans, that $20 million might be $17 million. So the fact that the NFL hasn't adjusted to that and made it like equal money wherever you play, however they would do that, is, to me, bullshit. It's complete bullshit. It really is, because teams with no state tax are at such an advantage. You're talking about millions of dollars on big contracts. Q's contract, let's say it's $100 million. He might make $65 million of that with the Jets, $70 million of that with the Jets, based on taxes. Where again, if he signed with the Dolphins, he'd make like all of that money. So it is ridiculous that they haven't changed that. I don't understand how or why, with a league this big, that they haven't figured that out. But regardless. The only thing bad about doing a solo show is when you have coffee. There's like no not awkward moment to just drink a cup of coffee. So you have to excuse me a few times when I do that. I'm kind of gassed. Why would Hopkins sign with the Patriots when Bill O'Brien, current OC, was saying all the stuff he did about Hopkins a while he was with the Texans? I don't know about the comments that specifically that he made, but it seems like, based on what I've seen, they're kind of they've either like buried it under the rug or whatever. But it seems like they're cool now. And he obviously had like his best years with Bill O'Brien and the Texans. So, it is what it is. I don't know. If he goes to the Pats, like, yeah, it's going to suck to play him twice a year. Am I shaking in my boots? Do I still think the Pats have a chance versus the Jets? No, fuck them. Like, we'll still beat them with Hopkins. Titans, okay. Like, are they going to make the playoffs with Hopkins? No. Do I prefer him to go to the – like, I would rather have him in the AFC with the Titans than in the NFC with the Cowboys who have to play them. I might – and this might be kind of stupid. I'd really have to almost like sit down and think about it. I almost rather play him with the Pats twice than with the Cowboys once, because that's the Cowboys another rumored team for him. Because the Cowboys with Hopkins, I think that gives them at least a better chance to beat us. With obviously Hopkins, Lamb, and Cooks, that's a really good trio. With the Pats, like, am I afraid of Hopkins versus Sauce? I'm really not. So, Faith film breakdown so far. I would say Clark. It's just so unfortunate. I would say Clark. I would say I just did Q. I just did Q, like almost like, okay, hey, he's gonna get signed eventually, and on a day or two, or after the day after he gets signed, let's drop this review, just for timing purposes. Q was fun to watch him fucking dominate people for 2 hours, 56 plays. Clark was really fun. Watching Garrett Wilson and Sauce back are really fun. I would say Aaron Rodgers has been awesome, just because I've been watching Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold, Kellen Clements, Mark Sanchez, Geno Smith, all these bums the last couple of years. And people will say like, oh, Mark Sanchez wasn't a bum. And again, I listen, he made it very far with the number one defense and the number one running game in the league. It's not like he won us games. I'm sorry. So for what he was a bust. He was here for what, 5 years? Didn't get signed again. Was then like a backup with the Cowboys, a backup with the Eagles, and out of the league. He's a bust. Overall, for his draft pick, for trading up however many spots to number 6 overall, whatever. Mark Sanchez, I get it. I get the love for him because of what he did in some of his clutch moments, but he's a bust overall for what he was supposed to be. There's no doubt about it. He did not carry those teams. They carried him. So he's still trash. I'm sorry. But yeah, I would say Rodgers, Sauce, Wilson, Clark, Q have been my favorite. I like Zari Barnes. That was a relatively fun one. And I have some coming up. I think I'm recording Zach Kuntz tomorrow and Converse on Saturday, I think. But yeah, they're all kind of fun. There are ones though that I get a little bit disinterested just because like I talk about the same thing a little bit too much in some of them. Lazard, I wasn't the biggest fan of. He's frustrating. You'll see him catch plenty of strays when I talk about Aaron Rodgers. He drops so many balls. Like people are frustrated with Corey Davis' hands. Lazard's hands are terrible. It just is what it is. And then past that, I would say Carter Warren. He's not my style. I got pretty bored during that one as well. He just, I think he lacks like grit, and not to be like the want to. I'm not Ulbrich, but he's just not my type of offensive lineman. I think he's a pretty big project. So Floyd says if Hopkins signs with the Pats, it's not going to help them win the division or make the playoffs. No, it's not. Like again, it's going to take them from maybe 8 wins to 9 wins or 7 wins to 8 wins. Like it's not going to help them much. So hey, he wants the money. He wants the money. Now, I could understand for a team, let's say like the Texans. Like the Texans wanted to re-sign him. Okay, you have Stroud and you want him to develop and you want to give him like a true number 1. I get that. If teams are trying to sign him to supplement a young roster and let their young team develop, understandable. Ryan Tannehill doesn't need Hopkins. Mac Jones, he needs everything he can get, but like, what are they going to do with that? I don't know. I don't think Hopkins throws the football to the Raiders and loses the game for the Pats. Oh, that means Hunt character issues holding him back. You think him and D-Hop, you think would have bigger markets. Yeah, but there are players who are plenty good who are unsigned for a multitude of reasons. And obviously Hopkins and Hunt are a little bit bigger names, but we got Quan really late last year. We got Morgan Moses, even though Morgan Moses was late, but I believe he was cut by that time at the football team, Redskins, whatever it was. And we signed him like a week or two later. But there are always players who are there late. But Hopkins, yeah, there's some stuff that came out that he might not be the best locker room guy. And Hunt, he had issues how many years ago? I don't know if there's anything in recent past. I haven't really looked into it, but it's a possibility. It's a possibility. We don't know what type of people these are. Like, we could all think, okay, yes, I'm Hunt. But Joe Douglas could have done his research on Hunt, and they could have called the Chiefs or he could have called the Browns. Like, no, this guy is late to meetings, doing this. Like, it's so you never know. Swolsey, I have no idea what this means. I typing bubbles K. I'm lean. I don't know. There are some things that I'm starting to maybe I'm just old and I don't know what this means, Swolsey, or maybe it's just a typo. But there are some things I'm starting to notice myself getting older. I just heard of soaking the other day. I didn't know what that meant, but I was like family and somebody brought up soaking. I was like, what the fuck is that? And they explained. I was like, oh, am I just old? Like, am I falling out of the loop with like words and stuff like that? And I heard about that. And then I also, some kid, my wife was watching some show and he said like, oh, the guy got yeeted. And I was like, what the fuck is yeeted? Like what does that mean? And then the other day I was searching through like GIFs like to put on Twitter and I saw a horse hitting a kid and it said yeet. So I guess getting yeeted is like getting like thrown far. Is that what it is? Is getting yeeted like rocked? You get hit. Like if a receiver's across the middle on a slant and gets rocked by a safety, did he get yeeted? Am I using that correctly? I don't know. I'm only 30, but I guess I'm old. I'm old. I don't know. Don't think MC is the best pass blocker just size alone. I want Hunt to be the second behind Hall. I would love it. I would love getting Hunt for $3-4 million. I think he's a really good back and it protects you. Now who do you cut? Like that's the question for really any of you who are here is like. You bring in Hunt. You're not carrying 5 running backs. Who do you guys cut? It's not Hall, right? It's not Izzy. It's not Hunt. So one of Knight or Michael Carter's gone. And Michael Carter showed a lot of promise in year one, a lot. Zonovan Knight showed promise for what? It was like the Vikings game, and maybe like there was like a game or two after that where he was running pretty well. And then he averaged like 2 yards a carry for the next like 3 games. So which sample size you going to buy into? It's hard, but I would love to see Hunt on the team. Obviously, assuming everything is cool in terms of the off the field stuff, which we don't really know. The Chuck Clark injury is so jet-like. Played nearly every game. Yeah, right. It's what's the stat? He played like 97 of the last 96 or 90. Yeah, 96 out of the last 97 or 97 of the last 98. Gets hurt with the Jets. And now you hear about Amos. Last 5 years, he started every single game. Okay, knock on wood, because same shit with Clark, right? Clark was all healthy, and then he comes here and he tears his ACL, most likely. I'm leaning more towards from Swolsey. I'm leaning more and more towards a complete overpay to get Adams from the Raiders. Yeah, but dude cost a lot, right? Like, okay, if we're talking about second round pick and all the money he's owed, then okay. But are you talking about another first? Like, are we getting rid of first for multiple years? I don't know. To me, I get the appeal of Adams, but if we're going more towards a complete overpay, I would overpay for Hopkins, or not Hopkins. I would overpay for Mike Evans before I'd pay for Adams, because Adams is owed, what is it, like $30 million, $31 million this year, or some crazy shit like that, where Evans is owed 13, 14, something like that, on a team who clearly is not going to win. Your Baker Mayfield can't hit a slant in practice, clearly. Like, you're seeing videos of it. So what is Evans doing for that team? So I would love – Evans is the most, like, I feel like it could happen. I feel like the Bucs, if they can get a good pick for him, should trade him. I would trade a third-round pick for Evans all day. For 2 years. Oh, yeah, I think he only has a year left, but you sign him for a year after that or whatever. So Snowball. I appreciate you guys throwing some chats. What's your confidence level in Dwayne Brown lasting the entire season post-surgery with the opponents we're facing this season? I'm pretty confident because, knock on wood, I'm confident because Dwayne Brown has been mostly an Iron Man. Like, if I'm more confident in him lasting this whole season than I was last season, you hear he injured his shoulder and he was playing with a torn rotator cuff or whatever it was last year, and he still lasted the whole year. So now he's healthy. Even if he tears it again, he's just going to play through it like he did last time. So I'm pretty confident he'll play the entire season, or at least a lot of it. Again, knock on wood. I hate saying that shit. And I think he should be better than last year. I think last year he was below average. I think this year with a healthy shoulder, I get he's 38 years old or 39 years old. I think he could be about average. And I think about average is okay for your offensive line. So I'm pretty confident. I'm excited to see Dwayne Brown. I think he's going to bounce back. I cannot imagine playing with the torn rotator cuff. I believe that's what it was. I tore my labrum. It's obviously a pretty close spot in the shoulder, and different ranges of motions and things like that. But I could barely open my car door. I can't understand trying to block Myles Garrett with a torn rotator cuff. I just don't understand. But Bus, hopefully with modern day sports medicine, we can get Clark back in the field in 2 weeks. Yeah, with steroids, sure. No, I think like you hope, because it happened in June, that you usually hear like 6 months or something like that for ACLs. Could he get back for the playoffs? Maybe. With that being said, do you want to be thrusting a guy who hasn't played with your team ever into a spot where he's just playing the playoffs? Like, now, obviously, you'd rather have him on the team than not, but does he start? I don't know. And obviously, that's a ways away. We haven't even heard the second opinion. Joe, do any of your opinions on the draft picks differ from the common consensus narrative? That, yeah, 1,000%. 1,000%. Now, the kind of the difficult thing is what are the common narratives? Will McDonald, I feel like it's pretty chalky. I would say Tippmann is pretty chalky. Everybody kind of knows. It gets into the later round guys. Warren, people saying that he's pro-ready in pass protection is bullshit to me. You've heard of people talk about his athleticism. I think his athleticism is pretty limited. I think he's an average athlete at best. So pro-ready and a good athlete, disagree completely. Izzy, I like Izzy, but I think Izzy is much more inconsistent than people realize. Izzy doesn't... And I like the home run ability. And I've said this with Izzy before. Izzy's going to get you 1 yard, 1 yard, 2 yards, -3 yards, 2 yards, 1 yard, 1 yard, 3 yards, 70 yards. Like, that's the kind of player he is, but his vision's very spotty. His patience behind the line of scrimmage, where people said was good, is very, very spotty. His ability to break tackles is pretty bad, to be completely honest. There's a lot of DBs who bring him down. Corners at that level bring him down. So who's going to do it versus Fred Warner? I don't know. So I think Izzy's a little bit overrated, but I still like him. It's not that I don't like him, but people, you got to understand he's a fifth round pick, and people are talking about him like he's going to be some absolute stud, like no doubt about it. I disagree. I would say Zach Kuntz is definitely overhyped by people, but that's because you see the RAS perfect 10, most athletic tight end ever. Sure. Does he play up to those numbers? No. I could say almost with, and again, I'm not trying to shit on people, but I think people tend to be more positive, and positivity gets clicks, right? Like if I'm going to be out there putting up bad plays of people, nobody's going to retweet it, nobody's going to like it. So the best thing to do is say, this guy is great. You retweet their stuff, right? That's what a lot of people do. I don't. The Zach Kuntz stuff, he might be the worst contested catcher I've ever seen. Yeah. And obviously I have a large sample size. I didn't see a lot of Eric Tomlinson or Kellen Davis doing contested catches, but Zach Kuntz, for his size, cannot catch the ball contested. And he's pretty frustrating because he didn't attack the ball. Like if a ball is slightly outside of his frame where he thinks the target's off, he won't even put his hand out. He's just like, fuck it. I'm not going to go for that ball. It wasn't a perfect throw. So Zach Kuntz is pretty frustrating to me. Now I like the upside. I like the high upside swing because I'm from the mindset of later on in drafts, you either take good players who are injured and people have questions about their knees holding up or whatever it may be, or you take home run swings for guys who are freaky athletic. Kuntz is the latter. He's the swing for the fences on the freaky athlete. But there's a reason a guy with a perfect 10 RAS score went in the 7th round, because he kind of sucks at football. I'm sorry, it is what it is. So maybe that. I would say from the jump last year with Whitehead, you see people like Doozable or Willie Cologne or whoever's on SOY. I'm just saying random people, but you'll kind of hear them saying, like, oh, he's a great tackler. And then the first game I watched, he misses 3 tackles. I'm like, did you watch, or are you looking up PFF numbers in some highlight film? I think you're doing the latter there as well. So, I have a lot of different opinions of pretty much everybody because I watch a fuck ton. Which, not to like toot my own horn, that's what it is here, and people don't like that. That's why sometimes it is what it is. I have a very niche group of you guys who like this shit. Some people are like, douchebag, too negative, get off. I don't want to watch you. But I appreciate the people who care about honesty. It makes no sense though. Go in the ring. You're a vet that made your money. How would you rather more money over chance? Robbie, like I get it. But I think it's easier for us to talk about it when we're not like we don't have his pockets, right? Like this is a guy who is used to his way of living life. I'm not saying lavish or anything like that, but I'm sure he's enjoyed the luxuries of being an NFL player and having millions of dollars. But the thing is, you have 10 years to make the money you're going to have for the rest of your life. So $2-3 million is a lot. Like $2 or $3 million is more than at least half of what I'll ever make in my life. So that's a lot of money. So it depends on the price. Now, if it's again $15 million with the Titans to win 8 games, or $13 million with the Jets, okay, I can understand that. But if the Jets are offering 8 and they're offering 15, $7 million is a lot. So kind of depends. It's hard to get in people's pockets. I don't love to do that. I'm never going to blame players for getting as much money as they possibly can. Now, if you go out there and say, I want an elite quarterback, I want an elite defense, I want to win, and then you go to the Titans, well, then your messaging is all fucked up, right? Like you're clearly lying and you want money. So, Douglas, hey Joe, new viewer here, wondering what your background is in football to be so good at evaluating players and tape. I played in high school. And that really wasn't even any of it, because our high school, we had like 6 offensive plays and like 3 defensive plays. Like we were a small high school. We sucked. So I played football, but then it really just came from like doing this. Like I started listening to Jets, like radio stuff, like Michael Kay and all that garbage. I realized how much garbage it was. And then I started listening to podcasts. And one of the first ones I found was Jet Nation Radio. And that's when Tyson Roush of Let's Talk Jets was doing it. I listened to him and a guy named Dennis. And then they left the show. And then this new guy, Brandon, came in. And then when Brandon came in, I started like calling into the show. Actually, I think I called in maybe once or twice when Tyson was doing it. And then I called into Brandon's show, or when Brandon Dowling was doing it. And then after my call, he messaged me after. He's like, hey, like, I really like your opinions. Would you like to do the show? I started doing the show with Brandon. And no offense to Brandon, he's probably not listening to this at all. But like those were during the years where like Gino and Sheldon Richardson, all those guys. But we only talk about like the top guys in the roster, and we didn't know what we were talking about. So if somebody asked a question about a coverage or what lost this, like you kind of make up shit or you dodge. and I really didn't feel like that was like genuine. So I was such a diehard football fan that I figured like, okay, I'm talking so passionately about the subject, maybe I should fucking learn what I'm talking about. And then it was just going into reading books, going to coaching clinics, attending coaching clinics online, finding old coaching clinics, taking notes, looking up coverages, looking up, the differences between cover 3 cloud and cover 3 buzz, and then all the different types of quarter coverages from Meg to mod to box to switch to all this shit. And then you the more you delve into topics, the less you know. So like each topic you're trying to learn about brings you into 7 other topics you had no fucking idea about. So it was just, I really dove into a rabbit hole of wanting to know what I'm talking about. Cause like I get frustrated, and especially now that I watch what I do and I at least understand it to a pretty solid level. And then I'll hear people talk on sports radio or podcast or Twitter. And I'm like, dude, I know I'm not Bill Belichick, but I definitely know you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And I'll see people get like 100 retweets on like some shit I know is complete bullshit. And I don't want to be one of those people. So I know it's a niche crew, and I have 84 viewers in here, and other streams have hundreds and stuff like that. So some people don't like the niche film talk and shit and think I'm an asshole for it, but it just is what it is. I don't know. Sorry to get into a long story about that, but I got some time. So yeah, it was just really about wanting to be knowledgeable about what I'm talking about. So that's why I do 2-hour film reviews. And I would say, when I do a review, I watch 16 players. Like it's going to take me probably 20, maybe not 20, probably like 10 to 15 hours to watch Amos. And after that, I'm going to know what I'm talking about with him. So I'm not going to be like, oh, is he good in coverage? Oh, well, his PFF numbers say this. Like, no, I don't need his fucking PFF numbers. So I appreciate the question. I like to kind of explain that stuff. But Bailey, I hope I didn't, Douglas, I hope I didn't scare you off with that. But that's kind of what it came from. It was really just not wanting to know what I'm talking about. With JD obviously looking at adding a wide receiver 1 this offseason, Hill last year and OBJ this year. Who else could be a pop? Well, OBJ, I think the Jets were – I don't think they're looking for a receiver 1. I think they're looking for a complement to Garrett Wilson. I don't think if Hill – no, I don't want to say this. I don't think they're as needy for a receiver 1 because they have a receiver 1. Like Garrett Wilson's a legitimate – and again, I'll talk about shit about a lot of people. Garrett Wilson's a fucking stud. Like, you guys should all be really, really – there's no fabrication. There's no nothing. He is bona fide number 1 receiver. He's going to be a top 10 guy this year. He could creep up to the top 5. He's going to be a top 10 guy for years to come. I legitimately think that. So I don't think they need another guy. With OBJ, I think it was part of like Aaron Rodgers' wish list, which I don't think it's a true wish list, but you'd think if you're bringing a quarterback to run your offense, you'd ask him, hey, who do you like? Like, no shit. Of course you're going to ask that. So that whole thing is ridiculous just in general. Like Rodgers mentioned, yeah, we talk about players we like. No shit. Why wouldn't you? Right? Like it would be stupid not to. So with OBJ, I think they were kind of trying to do him a favor, and maybe they probably cut Corey Davis because of OBJ. But Hill and OBJ are obviously on 2 completely different tiers. Now, in terms of like who could be a possible option, I think Evans. I still think Hopkins is an option. Maybe I don't think Adams is a real option. I think the most like realistic option that should be out there is Evans. I would love Evans. $14 million for a guy who's had 8 1,000-yard seasons in a row with sometimes with guys like Jameis Winston and whoever else has been playing there. That would be a slam dunk, man. Neil, is it feasible to replace Corey Davis with Conklin, play Rucker? And well, no, because Corey Davis is a receiver and Conklin is a tight end. So you don't want Conklin on the outside as like a Z and having to create space. And Conklin's like a good athlete, but he's not Corey Davis. Corey Davis is a much better athlete, and playing Conklin on the outside is going to screw up some concepts. Like you're not going to be able to get him. You're not going to be able to get him deep down the field with like proper timing on a dig route. Like he can be involved in some things, but no, one's a receiver, one's a tight end. And I think Rucker's going to have more playing time. I think it's going to be a more like pseudo fullback H-back role. I think that at a certain point he could overtake Uzama as tight end too. I like Uzama. He's definitely overpaid for what he is. And Rucker bowled out towards the end of last year, so I could see Rucker taking his spot. It's just Uzama is he's such a good locker room guy, which to me matters probably more than it should. I'm all about the locker room. I'm all about chemistry. It really means a lot to me. So I get bringing Uzama. He's still overpaid, but I can see Rucker taking a spot. Next question as I take a sip of coffee. More like a gulp, trying to get it all down in limited time. I'd like to see Hop go to the Pats. I think we'll crush the Pats and give him the better chance to beat Miami or Buffalo. Yeah, I prefer him to go to an NFC team who we're never going to play. I don't want to see Hopkins twice a year. Now, again, do I think that makes them beat the Jets? I don't. I think the Jets go week 3, exercise their demons, and beat the shit out of the Patriots. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for the football season to start, man. Like, I'm already really excited getting through the reviews and stuff, but week 1 is going to be wild. Going to Dallas week 2 is going to be wild. The Pats game week 3, wild. Like, it's so who is week 4? Week 4 is the Chiefs, right? Sunday night game. Week 5 is the Broncos. Week 6 is the Eagles. Week 7 bye. 8 Chargers. It's a fun start to the season. I'd much rather go D-Hop to the shitty Patriots than the Bills or Kansas City. Oh, yeah, 100%, Rob V. Like, the Bengals, KC, the Eagles, even the Cowboys. Like, I'm not saying the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are probably the 3rd team in the NFC behind the Eagles and the Niners. So, like, you don't want them to go there. You want them to go to an NFC team who's shitty or a shitty AFC team. You know, go ahead, go to the Texans, go to the Titans. I don't care about the Titans. Now, I prefer him to go to the NFC or the Titans over the Pats. I don't want to face him twice a year, but if he does, I'm not shaking my boots. I'm late. Has Clark officially been ruled out for the year? No, but it seems like that's the case. First opinion seemed to, the way everybody insinuated, it seemed like he was going to be out for the year. And he's getting a second opinion. We haven't seen the result of that, but yeah. Happy thinking. I agree with you, Joe. The tax situation to be automatically adjusted to the salary cap for each team respectively. The more taxes, your higher cap to even it out. It's the exact FFS easy math. Again, I don't know what FFS means. For fuck's sake. I don't know what that means. Yeah, it's just stupid. Like, how can other teams have, like, it's basically like, hey, the Titans have $100 million. The Jets, you only got 80. Good luck. So how does that make sense? It makes no sense. They should figure out with the tax situation in terms of the percentages. More teams with more taxes should get more money. So, is Amos the best safety in our roster, in your opinion, Joe? Oh, God. Clark is still on the roster, so it's Clark. Is he better than Whitehead? Give me time. He might be. I would say based on, or I don't know. I'm not thrilled with him early. Even in 2020, he was supposed to be a stud. Like, I watched the Lions game. He got hurdled. He almost gave up another catch. He gave up a touchdown. He was really flat-footed in cover 3, deep middle third. I don't know. Maybe a little bit. But legitimately, I think if it's Amos and Whitehead as like your top 2 options in terms of like the best safeties in your roster, I think Tony Adams probably overtakes him by the end of the year. I liked a lot of what I saw of Tony Adams in preseason. I liked a lot what I saw of him as a UDFA from Illinois. I liked a lot of what I saw him late in the season. So I think if I had to bet that Adams is going to be at least decent starter. I think he's going to be a decent starter this year. With saying that I would think he's going to be a better player, and that's what I would bet on. Do I want to bet my Super Bowl and playoff chances on that? I don't. Let him develop. Let him prove it to you as a backup. You know, and if he balls out this year and he proves it for now, you know, now you have him in multiple years where he's balling out, and you don't bring, let's say, John Johnson back, fine, in year 2, but in this year against the Bills twice, the Dolphins with Hill and Waddle versus KC versus the Chargers, you want to have an inexperienced safety who's not very proven? Yikes! Like, that's a yikes situation to me. Hawk. No. Hawk, also, what's up? I appreciate that, Hawk. What's up to you as well? I'm just gassed. I'm fucking tired right now. But as I said, I've been working for a couple of years now. I would say today was top 5 busiest I've ever been, just nonstop ridiculousness today. So typo text, Hawk, what's up? I always love how, like, somebody drops in here and then, like, you have like your more popular guys or whatever who are like, they come in here and it's like, oh, what's up, bro? What's up, Anthony? What's up, Hawk? It's just like, it's always funny. Stephen Angle will come in at like 7:58, say, did I miss anything? And like throw curse words out there. Like, you have your little clicks here. It's kind of funny. Brian Newell, what's up? Catching it live for once. I appreciate that. Appreciate you being here. Cy Thompson, maybe more Knight, or maybe move Knight to he's not getting to the practice squad. Based on what he did last year in just a small sample size, and I know obviously half of it was very good and half of it was kind of bad, but to be frank, obviously a lot of that's the offensive line. somebody's scooping him up. Somebody's scooping him up as running back 4 before he gets to the practice squad, because obviously it's a clear waivers. So heck no, get Evans. Yeah. According to Jets X Factor, Dan Knight's franchise record for NFL debut scrimmage yards surpassed the previous record holder, Stephen Hill. I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah, I was at that game, man. That was Stephen Hill's first game, was the Bills home opener, right? And he had 2 touchdowns, and like one of the first plays, it was Sanchez to Hill, like 40 yards down the right sideline, I believe. And I was there. I was like, holy shit, dude, Stephen Hill's gonna be a stud. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I was one of those fans. Like, yeah, I was a diehard. I was season tickets, all that stuff, and I thought Stephen Hill was gonna be a stud. That should say how much I really paid attention. Like, I was an idiot. Like, you should watch Stephen Hill at Georgia Tech and be like, yeah, this guy kind of sucks. You know, I should have known what was going to happen. But like, I think I saw a stat out there like yesterday, maybe, that at first Bam Knight was averaging like 6 yards a run his first couple of games, and then the next couple of games were like 2. And I would want to go back, obviously, and like legitimately watch just him in the offensive line and see his reads and all that stuff. But I know a lot of it was the offensive line, but that's a massive drop off, right? Like, we're not going to rely on that this year. If you had to be running back 2 this year, you'd be concerned. If Michael Carter II had to be your running back 2 this year, you'd be concerned. If Izzy had to be your running back 2 this year, you'd be concerned. But with question mark, do you hope that one of those 3 can rise up and be running back 2? I think that's potentially the Jets' hope. But with the rumored interest in the draft and running backs, with the rumored interest of Cook, where you saw Salah shoot down Hopkins, you saw Salah, he shot down. There was something else I think he shot down. But with Cook, he's like, yeah, well, you know, I can't really talk about the finances or whatever he said. So I think there is interest in adding a running back. Now, again, Hunt over Cook for me, but whatever. Mike Evans' hands are iffy. Are you sure, Swolsey? I don't know. Mike Evans drops. I never really remember his hands being iffy. He's had a drop or 2, but if you think Mike Evans' hands are iffy, you're gonna hate Lazard. You're gonna hate him. He drops so many easy balls. I'm sorry, but there's plays on 3rd down, he's wide open in the middle, he drops it. But I'm not like a PFF guy, and I don't really know how to look up stats. I'm just not a big stats guy. Who could find me his drops in the last couple of years? Oh yeah, okay. RotoWire said Evan. Let's see. Yeah, how do you find that? Who could find that for me? Drops. I don't know what site to use for drops. Somebody find it if you can. I would really appreciate you. But if not, it is what it is. But okay, even if he has sketchy hands, I'm still taking him. He's still a really good receiver. I would say yeet. If I stole a chicken nugget out of your hand that you're about to eat and then threw out the window, yeah, like I don't know. I don't really. I thought kind of like that's the same thing, like yeet, like kind of like didn't like overtake like YOLO, but like I get the term, like something you do something fucking crazy, but apparently like when people get hit really hard, it's yeet. I don't know. It was a horse running over a kid, and it said the caption was yeet. I was like, all right, I don't know. You got hands and Aaron Rodgers throwing passes your way, you better catch the ball. Yeah, for sure, man. Like, hold on, where? Let me see if I can pull up this play really quick. Like an absolute fucking seed from Rodgers. It was 2020. Let's see, because I was in the review I just did. Deep Lazard placement. Hold on, no, that's not it, right? Nope, that's not it. You guys can't see what. Actually, I don't even care if you guys see. Hold on, let me just share my screen. Preset, share screen, entire screen, share. Okay, you guys can see everything I can see. Let's see if I can find this play. Not helped. What play was it? So I did plays. Hard look easy, ride out, base inside, underthrow base, quick decision, drop butt. No. Drop butt. Is this it? Oh, yeah, dude, this is the play. Like, watch, and the whole film breakdown thing, you guys can go and watch that shit. I'm not breaking this down right now. This is just me, like, kind of just shooting the shit. I don't need to break any of this down. Which, by the way, just peeks there, reads that, crease concept. That's the first read of that. Sorry. Yeah. Which, by the way, Rodgers really likes to do this. Like, just a quick little side note in terms of, like, the film stuff. A lot of times, like, you'll see with 3 receivers to this side be your primary read, and this isolated receiver, like, run a crossing route or something like that. So you'll read whatever the read is. For this one, it's 1, 2, 3. And then it'll come back to this, and usually it's like a crossing route or something like that to work into the concept, or at least be easier on the eyes instead of having a 1, 2, 3 all the way across to 1. But with Rodgers a lot, especially with Devontae Adams, and you'll see it, by the way, versus DJ Reed here. You'll see this with Garrett Wilson, where Rodgers will read the release, read the DB, see if he likes it immediately. If not, he'll come off of it really quick and go back to his process on his front side read, because he's just so elite at processing. He doesn't need the extra time to process this on the front side, but he reads Adams. Okay, I don't like Adams. And then what we call this a crease concept with the seam or the bender. Seam if it's cover 3, if there's a gap in like cover 3s between the safety and the corner, so you'll run a seam like that. But if it's a middle of the field open coverage, or there's a safety to his right, he's going to bend it. You call it a bender route, so it's like a seam or a post. So you read the bender, you read the dig, and this is called a crease concept. Some people call it a dagger, but a dagger also has a drag under it. This is all the shit you get on the film reviews, but he's going to read 1, 2, 3. He never comes off the 2 because he sees the relationship with the linebacker, and obviously this safety being out leveraged to where he's throwing it to. So, but like, watch this throw, and this is not examples of Lazard's bad hands, because yes, he drops it. There's plenty of examples of him just running a slant and it's like wide open that he drops, but you can't drop throws like this, dude. Like, look at that fucking throw. It's ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. Drops it. Like, not even close to catching it. Not even close. Like, his hands don't even hit it. Maybe his like thumb or his forearm does, but, and I have plenty of plays of drops. I'm not going to try to shit on him and do all that stuff because people are like, oh, you're an asshole, you're negative. But it just is what it is. So it's frustrating though when you have Rodgers throw an absolute dime like that and it's fucking dropped. So let's see. Oh, scroll back up. Where am I at? Okay. Watch the film. It doesn't lie. How good do you think Bryce Huff is? He seems like the best edge rusher on the team to me, but with drafting JJ and now McDonald, it seems like JD and Saleh don't value him at all. I don't think it's not that they don't value him. I think that it's the fact that they just really, really, really are strict to their idea that they don't want edge rushers playing a lot of time. Now, I'm not going to agree with a first-round pick from last year. Now, obviously, it depends on how productive they are, but first-round draft pick playing about 30% of the snaps. A fourth-round draft pick playing 30% of the snaps. JFM, some games playing 49%, 50, 51 for $14 million. You know, Carl Lawson playing 50% of the reps for $15 million. Q is about to get $25 million a year, and there's games he played like 59, 60% of the reps. It's just not enough, so I don't necessarily agree with their thoughts on that. I get the thought of wanting them to be fresh, but at the same point, you're paying a lot of money to be on the bench. A lot of values on the bench, when you don't have like a true starting proven free safety right now. So it's their philosophy more than I think it's their hatred against players, because it's not that they dislike Lawson, they dislike JJ. They're really stringent to that idea. Now with Huff, it was frustrating that he didn't play the first couple of weeks. He comes in and he dominates, and it kind of sucks. Like, I don't think he's going to be re-signed here after this year. I'm not sure if they think he's great in the run game, which is a part of it. But part of that is not necessarily getting the opportunity to prove he's good in the run game. Now, obviously, they have the advantage of being in practice and seeing him and playing in the run game, but you're never really going to play him over JFM on the edge in terms of the run game. You're not going to play him over JJ. You're not going to play him over Clemens on the edge as a run stuffer. You're not going to play him over Lawson, because Lawson's not a good run stuffer, but he's okay. So it's not even just like he's not. I don't think he's not like capable of playing the run game, but you have so many better options. So he just plays so few snaps that's almost hard to like justify re-signing him, because I would love to re-sign him. And let's say he balls out like he did last year. The thing is, the Jets will try to pay him $4 or $5 million, maybe $6 million for a limited role, where a team, let's just say like the Bucks or whoever, will come out there and say, hey, we'll pay you $10 million because we'll also play you against the run. Where the Jets are never really going to do that, I don't think, especially, you know, with all the guys that have on their team. I don't think it's going to happen. So Carlos Santos, what's up? No. Bryce Hall to safety, no. It's a different spot. Your eyes are different. Your reads are different. You have to approach the box differently, different angles in the running game. You get really physical. I'm not saying it's not physical, but do you want Bryce Hall taking on a pulling guard or a tight end trying to crack block him? I don't. I don't think he's athletic. You have to be pretty athletic to be a free safety as well. I don't think he has the best burst out of his breaks. I don't think he has the best deep range. Again, your reads completely change. Like, I get secondary, but is offensive line, you know, is tight end the same as running back? Is receiver the same as, I don't know. It's two different positions to me. I get like secondary to secondary, and it's easy switching Madden. But it just doesn't work like that. Steven T, I appreciate that. Thank you, man. You're also the man. Healthy Corey seriously doesn't get enough love. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Corey is one of the players who is hated by Jets fans, and I get it because yes, he has drops. And again, trust me. If you hate Corey Davis, you're gonna hate Lazard with drops. He's much worse hands. With that being said, you have Corey Davis who gets a contract, and we think he's gonna be like the number one receiver with the Jets. He comes in, he has some penalties, he has some drops, and the thing that almost like multiplied the problem was the fact that Zach Wilson only got the ball accurately down the field like 2 times a game. So when Corey Davis drops one of them, it really exemplifies the problem because like, holy shit, that's the only thing he remembers. It's like the only good throw he threw and he dropped it. With Rodgers, he might catch 5 or 6 balls on dig routes and then he drops the 7th. And you're like, oh, well, he had the 6 other catches. But with Zach Wilson, he didn't really have that opportunity. So like his problems were exemplified because of how not like misused he was, but because he wasn't seeing the ball as much as he should have because the passing offense was absolute just shit. So I would say for underrated Jets right now, and this isn't what you guys asked, obviously, but Corey Davis is one of them. Tyler Conklin's one of them. I would say Tony Adams is one of them, just to get on a more positive spin because I'm typically people think I'm a negative asshole. But Corey Davis is underrated. And that's something people don't like to hear because, I saw him drop the ball. Like, same thing with Conklin. Oh, he sucks. Conklin had like 4 drops and 4, and don't quote me on this, but like very minimal drops. I'll say 4 or 5 drops in a couple of years with the Titans. And maybe it was even more than that. Maybe it was 4 or 5 drops a year, but that's still not a ton. He comes to the Jets, his first couple of games, he has a drop or 2 in each game and a fumble in like each of the games where he never really did that through his entire career. So now because of the small sample size, especially the first impression sample size to Jets fans, they saw him fumbling and dropping. Now he sucks. Well, what about the other 4 years where he played really, really well, didn't drop the ball, didn't fumble? And the thing with Tyler Conklin is he was like 8th or 9th in receiving yards for tight ends last year. So for people who want to rely on stats, that's still a pretty solid tight end. And again, considering that was coming from Zach Wilson, what if he's playing with Aaron Rodgers last year? Would he have been 5th or 6th in receiving yards for tight ends? And he sucks? Are you sure? Are you sure? Because I'm not sure. Actually, I'm sure that he's a good player. I think he's a good receiving tight end. I do. I think he's a solid blocker or decent blocker at the minimum. He's a really good route runner. Now, he's not the biggest guy. You don't want him going over the middle, like contested catches and things like that. But in terms of like a route running tight ends, he's up there. He's a good tight end. I like Conklin. So Corey, Conklin, Adams, give him some love. Those are players who, based on everything I've watched, they're actually pretty good. But again, you guys know what it is. First impression of everything. So if you're going to drop a ball in your first game of the Jets, especially with Jets fans, how reactionary our entire fan group is for the most part, you suck. You drop that first game, you're terrible. Marvin, what is up, my man? Works lost to Mets playoffs. 08 with Favre against Miami, or Week 17 with Fitz. Well, see, the thing about Favre with Miami is I was 15 there. So I was a big Jets fan when I was 15, but I wasn't like stupid diehard like you guys are and I am. Like I was a big fan, but I was more like not casual, but you know what I mean? Like not die hard. Week 17 with Fitz versus the Bills, I drove to Buffalo. That sucked balls. That was the worst, man. The excitement. Like I remember pulling up to the Pats game because the Pats were, I think that year they were fighting for the 1 seed or the 2 seed, I believe, for a bye. And I remember pulling up to the stadium. We get there at like 7:55. We wait in line. We do our shotgun as soon as we get off the bus. We do all that fun stuff. I remember sitting there and being like, dude, if they win this game, we have a chance next week. I think if the Steelers lose, I think too, or was it just winning in? I think it was winning in. If the Steelers lost, we were still in. Yeah, that's what it was. And we drove there. Like we won. Like holy fucking shit! Like we're really going to Buffalo. Like damn, okay. It's like one of those things that you get beer muscles and it's like we're going. And then like after the game, like fuck, we really want to go. We really want to do this, and we did it. Cold ass Buffalo. It was like negative temperatures with wind chill. It sucked. It was snowy. I remember I was the asshole who wore like 2 pairs of socks with breathable shoes. I was fucking freezing my ass off, getting snowballs thrown at us and all that shit. And Fitz throws 3 picks. Kembrell Tompkins drop. That sucked. That was terrible. And with that game too, I remember being so frustrated because Powell was out and Ivory, we had no idea why he was out. Apparently, we later figure out that he's battling a injury. But Ivory comes in for 1 play and he runs the ball for like 45, 50 yards in 1 run. We're like, what the fuck, man? Like that one hurt. That one really hurt now. And the thing about it too is I think that next game, if we were to play, it would have been the Bengals without Dalton at that point. It's like AJ McCarron, Bengals. So we could have at least got to the divisional round. And I think the divisional round might have been the Pats, and we beat the Pats already. Would we have beat Tom Brady in the playoffs in the divisional round with Brian Fitzpatrick? Probably not. But would I have enjoyed the shit out of a wild card win against the Bengals? Fuck yeah, I would have. So that one hurt. That one legitimately hurt. That drive back, man. That was terrible. Even though, I'm not going to lie, it doesn't really matter because none of you know him, but one of my friend's brothers was Snapchatting a teacher who we all kind of knew. And he was getting some naughty pics from the teacher, but like you can't save it on your phone on Snapchat. You can't screenshot it. At least not. I don't know about like screen recording or whatever, but you couldn't screenshot it. So he was getting the Snapchats in the front of the car. I remember just being over his shoulders, and we're all taking pictures, and like 7 dudes in the car. It was fucking funny, man. We kind of just like bask in the misery, embrace the suck, as they say. We embrace the suck. Question: if a guard gets injured, how would you play it? McGovern at center and Tippmann at guard, or vice versa? Tippmann, he's practiced at guard. I don't know if he's ever played at guard. McGovern's played at guard earlier in his career. And McGovern's a center, is a veteran who you'd expect to be able to adjust well to that. You don't want to move Tippmann, a guy who's been playing center, who's been practicing at center. I think he's actually practiced a little bit with the Jets at guard, but still, do it to the veteran. Don't move rookies around. You can't do that shit. Keep him in one spot. So yeah, if it was that situation, I would Tippmann center, stay at center. McGovern can play guard. But if a guard gets injured, you're probably going to have, and you also have Billy Turner, who's played guard. And then past that, you have Schweitzer, who they like, apparently, just based on his contract. What, 2 years? Was it 2 years, $5 million, 3.5 guaranteed? So he's going to be on the roster. So if he's getting paid that money, it should be him. I personally like Tristan Castillo, I think the hyphenated name is Colon Castillo. I like him more than Schweitzer, but based on his contract, Schweitzer's not going anywhere. Colon's probably going to get cut. I see it maybe as like that. I think the Jets probably carry 11 offensive linemen, which is crazy. But I see that last roster spot probably being between Yodny Cajuste and Cologne. I like Cologne, but we'll see. Limited sample size, and I watched him a while ago, but I'm 95% positive I like Cologne a lot more than Schweitzer, but we'll see. Adams plus Quan greater than Clark. I only asked because but the thing about this is it's Adams plus Quan, but you're also minusing Tony Adams from that. Or sorry, it's Amos versus and Quan, but Tony Adams is also out of that equation then because you're taking him from free safety and you're putting Amos there. Is that better than Clark? I would say if I had to choose between Clark at linebacker with Adams at free safety and Amos at free safety and Quan at linebacker, I'm taking Clark and Amos, or Clark and Adams. I really, really like Clark in the box, but is it so far off? No, I don't think it's so far off. So I would love to bring back Quan for the reasons I said. Like, even if Quan's a backup, okay, Quan's a backup. If Mosley gets injured, you're not fucked. If Tony Adams is sucking at free safety, which I don't think he will, you have a backup for him in terms of, okay, Amos goes from the box strong safety to free safety, and then Quan comes in as a full-time linebacker. Like that should be the idea. Like the fact that Clark got injured and the Jets had to, I'm not saying panic sign Amos, but it kind of was. They offered him more money than I think he was like second visit with the Ravens was about to sign, and then they offered him more money. Like you shouldn't have to panic like that. And obviously you're not going to have a stud backup at every position, but I would like them to bring in, whether it be Quan at linebacker or even John Johnson at free safety, like bring in one of those spots to give you some flexibility in those spots. Do you project that this tight end group as a whole will account for more or less than 33% of this off? Jesus, mega vegan. 33%. Fuck, that's such a hard thing to do on the spot. What do you think of that question? I like it though. 33%. I'm going to say Garrett Wilson, who's going to take up at least a third. You do Garrett Wilson, Horn. Yeah, tight end group. Yeah, I would say 33%, right? Because you have running backs who are probably going to be like 20%, like dump offs, things like that. And they'd like the ball to running back in the system, screens and stuff. So they'll see at least like 20%. Wilson, Davis. Yeah, I would say that's about a good number. I would say about 32%. That's a really hard number. That's a good number though. Like, it really made me think, but I think it's about that. Germ drop, but okay. Mike hasn't had 4 drops this year. I don't know how he has bad hands. Was it only 4? Yeah, I don't. Now I've seen him have a drop or two in a bad spot, but I don't ever remember thinking of Evans having bad hands. Like, he's one of the better contested catches guys in the league, right? I don't know. Jet Lounge, which is Jeremy, who tweets at me that he has a challenge for me. And I tweet at him, "What is the challenge?" He says, "No, I'm joking." I was like, "What the fuck is a challenge? I thought we were challenging. What was the challenge?" You know, I was waiting for something fun, but I was like, "I was joking." Okay, all right, Jeremy. Rob D, roster also doesn't need to be perfect by week 1. Ideally, it is, of course. Can easily trade for Evans. Yeah. Like, it's not that you can't ever make a move again, but you'd rather have the full offseason, right? Like, that's obviously, I don't really even have to say that. Like, I know we're all smart enough to think that. So it's possible, but what if Bayard is your backup option? Like, hey, okay, if we're going to trade for him if shit goes wrong, then what if he's gone? What if he tears his ACL and then shit, your backup plan's gone? Like, I would just do it now, you know? 4 drips total in 2 years starting for Vikings. You are not wrong, though. Oh, yeah. Okay. Was it 4 drops total? Yeah. So you have 4 drops total in 2 years for the Vikings. He drops 4 balls in 3 games for the Jets, and everybody hates him. But based on the larger sample size of those 2 years, he's not a guy who drops the ball a lot. It's just unfortunate that in those games he did. You know, so now he sucks. Everybody says Conklin sucks. If you say Conklin sucks, you just don't watch. You don't really legitimately watch him rep by rep and see his routes he runs and all that stuff. When you have Zach Wilson, it's going to be really hard to produce. So he put up 500-600 yards, was, again, 8th or 9th in receiving yards for tight ends. He comes out next year and has 700 yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns. Is more efficient. People are like, holy shit, we love Conklin. Who knew this was going to happen? It's like fucking 62 of us, including me in here, knew it. You know, I don't know. Corey has the same big-time clutch plays in the Jets jersey. The drops, I don't mind relative to contract. Yeah. Health, and health. You want him to be healthier than he is. I think Bryce Hall went from the most overrated player last year to one of the most underrated players in the Jets. Yeah, it's interesting with Hall because at first he was a guy who I thought could be like an okay number 2. And then he obviously loses his spot because you got Sauce, you got DJ Reed, and then he has like a bad preseason game versus no. I think it was the year he was starting. He had a really bad game against. Was it the Falcons? Or no. It was the Falcons in preseason, right? He got roasted by Pitts a couple times, and then people were like, "Oh, he sucks." And then he gave up a beautifully contested catch ball from was it Devin Duvernay versus the Ravens, and now he sucks. It's like he's a really, really good backup still. Like there was teams who I think would trade for Bryce Hall to be their number 4. So yeah, I would say he's underrated at this point for sure, Jordan. So like me saying to trade him is not necessarily like me saying he sucks now. It's just if you're going to have him at $2-3 million as corner 6, when you can flip him for a 5th round pick, I'd rather have the pick than corner 6, even though he is good. Now, maybe that's kind of stupid because hey, what if one of your starters goes down? You know, you want that good depth, but it's risk reward. You know, hopefully you don't have to get that deep in the depth chart. But yeah, he's definitely underrated at this point. It's just because again, recency bias is a huge thing with Jets fans, and first impressions is a huge thing. So we're all going to forget about Bryce Hall coming in as a rookie and having a pretty good game against the Chargers, a pretty good game against the Dolphins, like some of the same games that Mims had good games, so did Bryce Hall. And then the next year, you know, he has a bad preseason game or two and maybe a bad play versus the Ravens, which actually was a pretty good play by Hall. It's just sometimes a perfect throw and perfect catch beats good coverage. And now he sucks. It's recency bias. You know what it is. That's the era we're in. Properly rated, I'd say he's a 4th round talent. Last week you mentioned Hackett likes mesh concept. Can you explain mesh and how they would utilize it? Well, there's different types of mesh. Like there's overs, there's unders, depending on where they're aligned. There's deep mesh, there's close mesh, like if they're closer aligned. But it's basically just 2 guys crossing across the middle, and then people build off of that. It's like it's really good for man beaters or even for zone for guys that don't pass it off. But you have 2 guys crossing across the middle, so for guys in man coverage, it creates like natural rubs, and then people will put different reads off of it. So like you'll have just straight mesh, or then you'll have like mesh sit where you'll have the 2 guys running, crossing each other, and a guy coming over the top to sit in between. So you have like a nice triangle read that really floods one zone. You'll have like mesh rail where you have the mesh, and then like the third read's the wheel route for the running back. So it's basically just two intermediate crossing routes from receivers or even tighter crossing routes or deeper, depending on the type of mesh. There's not just one type of mesh. So it's really just built off of 2 guys crossing and flooding zones in the middle, and obviously acting as natural rubs for man coverage. So, but he runs a lot of different meshes. There's definitely a lot of shit built into his mesh. So let's see. Football is Joe. Which spring league do you like better, XFL or USFL? It's the XFL now, right? I don't really know. Like, I try to watch it, I just can't. Like, and when I watch it, it's usually when I'm watching like football films, so it's kind of in the background, so I don't really pay attention so much to it. But I started rooting for the Renegades this year, like the Texans. They were in Texas, right? I think they had Wade Phillips as a coach, and I think they had PJ Walker. So it's like, okay, fuck it. Like, why not? Listen, I have no allegiance to these teams. There's no New Jersey team. When it was the Jersey Generals, was it the Generals or Guardians? Guardians. And I bought a sweatshirt just to be like, fuck around. Like, hey, I'll go to MetLife one time, get front row seats for $5. That'd be fun. And then they canceled. So this time I was like, there's no local team. I think the closest team to at least our area was Washington, I believe. So I found the best head coach quarterback combo, and I think PJ Walker left and just Wade Phillips, and they kind of sucked anyway. I don't really like either of them. I don't know. It's good though. Like, it's a good idea. If it lasts, I might watch it. It's just because I'm expecting to watch it and maybe invest a little bit into it, and the league gets canceled. You saw that The Rock, isn't he the owner or the commissioner or whatever he is, like, lost a bunch of money. So is it going to last? I don't know. It's really good though. I think it'd be nice for the NFL to kind of link up with them and have them as almost like a developmental program. Like if it was like a thing where you had, and obviously it's not going to happen maybe like this, but maybe it would have to. If it was developmental league, you'd have to have 32 teams because you can't have the Jets and the Bills sharing players and shit like that. But I would like to see them some way kind of intertwined, have a developmental type thing. Backup like Eccles, role sure. QB2 no. I don't see him starting a level player ever for. Yeah. So it depends. Like if it's a shitty quarterback tandem, could Bryce Hall start and look not like terrible? I think he could be a lower tier cornerback too. Would I be thrilled with him as cornerback too? Absolutely not. Like, I think he's a very, very good depth piece and a guy you're probably pretty angry with as a starter. But going from Hall to Reed and Sauce, you really notice the difference. Like, it's just, I think Hall has good size. I think he has good length. I think he's a pretty smart guy. He seems like an absolute, like a really good guy, guy who crunches film. If you listen to the stuff about like him pre-draft, the thing is, he's just some guys are physically limited. You can be a good player but be physically limited, and I think that's what kind of Hall is. So, Stephen Angle, I'm out to dinner, you bastards. He always drops in the first time with a curse. Appreciate you being in here, or at least checking in, Stephen Angle. Drop some questions if you have them or whatever. I don't have any other topics really to talk about, but you guys have been killing the chat, so we've at least lasted an hour and a half, so I appreciate that. Was CD also pre-injury or also injury prone, or was it in fact that he has to high point a lot of balls thrown by Zach? No, it's not because he has a high point ball. It's the fact that he was injured. But his years prior to coming to the, let's look at Corey Davis's game logs. Corey Davis stats, because I think for the most part, the years prior to the Jets, he was playing in mostly every single game for the Titans. He'd miss a few games, but I don't think he was ever like often injured. Oh, well, okay. So his rookie year, 2017, he only played in 11 games. Okay. But then his next years, he played in 16, 15, 14. So he missed no games. He missed one game. He missed 2 games. So you get a 3-year sample size of him missing only a few games, and then you go to 9, and then you go to 13 this year, where he played in 13 games. Started only 10, which I think the starting thing, correct me if I'm wrong here, which is kind of really stupid, is like if you line up on the first play, you're a starter. Okay, shouldn't it be like snap percentages? I don't know. But he was definitely less injured with the Titans than he is now, at least a little bit. So you're hoping for, I think I would sign the dotted line right now for 14 games from Davis. He misses 3. I would take that. 13, 14 games. Hopefully he's healthy during the playoffs. Mike Evans drops from 2018 to 2022. 7. Slightly high, but not bad hands. 0. Great. 7. Okay. 3, 5. Yeah, it's not bad hands. I would say 7 and 7 is not ideal, but it's still not bad. And you also have to factor in, like, how do you quantify a drop? Is Is a drop Jameis Winston throwing a ball behind him where Evans has to drop 2 feet, almost catch it with one hand? Is that a drop? Or is it a drop that's in his chest? I don't know. Rob D, am I crazy for thinking Lawson could look much better this year, but it won't show in sacks? Could easily see more of those sacks taken away by McDonald and more Huff snaps. Yeah, I think that's like the generic thing to say, because it's true. That first year after an Achilles tear or after an ACL tear, you're typically not yourself, so you're always going to bank on that player's second year back. So I think he definitely will be better this year. Now, like you said, and it's not even just Huff or it's not McDonald, and part of it is like, okay, yeah, maybe they see more snaps, so Lawson does see more less snaps, so he doesn't get as many sacks. But part of it's the fact that Lawson is somewhat physically limited. Like, he has good burst, he has good strength, but he's not the bendiest player in the world, and he relies on more just like straight bull rush and some good technique, but he's not the player who's like easily going to separate and have the best like tackle race to finish sacks. So part of it's like he's going to create pressure, and they're going to run right into Q. They're going to run right into McDonald. They're going to run right into JJ. They're going to run right into Clemens. So I don't think there's definitely a possibility where he plays much better and his stats don't reflect it, because guys either take his sacks or take snaps for him because of all the money and capital we've invested elsewhere, right? So, yeah, it's interesting. But that's it for the chat. I really don't think I have anything else to talk about, right? Salah comments, Rodgers. I saw that fucking people from WFAN now are questioning if Rodgers is having too much fun. Like, are we being serious here? Like, on days off, he's going to concerts, listening to Taylor Swift. Is he having too much fun? Like, really? Like, this is really what we're listening to nowadays? So, WFAN is trash. So, I was expected. What else did I see this week? Bill Barnwell put the Jets as a fourth team in the AFC East in terms of the record this year. What other shit happened this week? I don't know. Is there anything else? I saw some rumored interest for Josh Jacobs. We kind of talked about that. I don't know. I'm really hoping the new MetLife turf will see our injury bug mitigated, and that the Clark injury was just a fluke. Well, the thing about it is he wasn't at practice for the Jets. He was doing his own thing, so he was probably training by himself and toward it. It wasn't at our stadium, definitely. But it even wasn't on our practice facility. So, Swolzy, I just remembered some big moments when Evans made some big drops. It's not saying I wouldn't want him on the team. It's just a factor. I personally would rather pay much more for Adams, the better player. Yeah, but if you're saying, okay, and in a vacuum, yeah, I'd rather have Adams versus Evans. But if Evans costs you a 4th round pick, Adams costs you a 2nd, and then Adams costs you $17 million more, where obviously, it's not this simple, but it's Evans, Quan, John Johnson, and a running back versus Adams. Like, would you rather have Adams and giving up a 2nd round pick, or would you rather have Evans, a 4th round pick, and then you have $17 million? Let's even say $15 million. Let's be conservative. John Johnson for 3, Hunt for 3, Quan for 3, and we still have $6 million to spare. So, like, it's not just a 1 versus 1 thing here. You have to consider capital. So I get it. Like, in a vacuum, yeah, but for the capital you have to give to get it both up, I'm taking Evans. The chemistry of AR is worth the while. Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with you necessarily, but the pain, not sure what that means. But I appreciate you guys. Not much more to get on. I will be back next week with Kyle Smith talking stat predictions and whatever else happens in the next couple of days. Again, I appreciate you guys.